Twins by birth, but sisters by choice. Inseparable by appearance, yet polar in ideals. To the two that fought as one together, the road to victory was all that mattered. One as calm and gentle as the breeze, the other a warrior of might untold. They who ruled from high above would witness the fall of those around. One would depart this mortal plane, the other would suffer for naught but eternity. Going back to a time predating the conclusion of the Archon War, the world would witness the birth of a beautiful pair of twin sisters. Bestowed upon them would be the names Makoto and Ei. Though identical in appearance, the two could not be more different from one another. One was like a flower, gentle and kind. The use of violence was against her mind. The other, a warrior that wielded a long blade. She would be all her sister could not, for she was the shadow that would guard their future path. One lived in the present, while the other sought that which had yet to come. It's precisely because we know that this scene is but a fleeting shadow that we should enjoy it all the more. Words once uttered by Makoto. The two would go on to attain victory in the Archon War and obtain a seat of the seven. The position would be filled in by Makoto, who was now known to the world as Baal, the Archon of Electro. Ei and Makoto would rule the entirety of Inazuma together. However, as far as the world was aware, Inazuma would be under the sole dominion of Baal, the Raiden Shogun of Inazuma. One would act in the light, while the other would revel in darkness. Ei, who would take on the alias of Beelzebub, would be a blade hidden in the dark. She would work tirelessly to clean up the underside of Inazuma and anything that may threaten it. She would truly, in its entirety, become naught but Makoto's loyal shadow. The two were peas in a pod, a princess and her knight, a person and their shadow, being two whilst also one. Yet soon would come time for the two to part, for the cataclysm of centuries long lost would claim the soul of the fragile rose. The loss of her sister would deal a heavy blow to Ei. She would take up her mantle and resume to preside over Inazuma as Baal, the Archon of Eternity. As far as the world was concerned, the ruler of Inazuma had always been, and still is, Baal, Her Majesty, the Narukami Ogosho. The shadow of the past would step in to fill in the shoes of the light that once shone upon the world. Alongside her position, Ei would inherit the sword born of Makoto's will, the Musou Ishin. What once used to be naught but an ornamental blade meant to symbolize peace would be sharpened for the first time under the hands of Beelzebub. Not long before, it would revel in the sins of its victims. Mortified by her loss and suffering in agony, Ei would seek ways to prevent such tragedy. Ironic as it may be, the one obsessed so much with the future would now seek solely to preserve today. For only through progression would one suffer loss. To prevent further tragedy would progress be put to halt. Throughout the years, this lesson was engraved deep within her. From the loss of her beloved ones to the fall of a once great nation, the culprit was not but ambition and desire to do better. Time was a blade more fearsome than any other. The sole way to escape its grasp was to be content with what one got. Such would commence the pursuit for eternity, as it is eternity that is closest unto the heavens themselves. In her attempts to reach eternity, she would end up abandoning her mortal vessel as it too was subject to the erosion of time. In its stead, she would create a vessel of perfection, one that would harbor her will forever. As such came to creation a carbon copy of her and her sister that would take the place of the Raiden Shogun. The creation of such a vessel was near impossible, yet nothing would stop her march to eternity. Many a failures would come to be, yet each would improve where the old had failed. After many an effort poured into her experiments, the time would come when she would see the fruits of her labor. A point of interest was the existence of a successful vessel before the final one. The tall Kunikuzushi too would come to life. Empathizing with its existence, the shogun sealed away its powers and released it to the world. But it wouldn't be long till its name resounded across the world as Scaramouche, the sixth of the harbingers of the Fatui. The Raiden Shogun would possess the same might as Ei herself, and within it would be placed an inviolable will to pursue eternity through the preservation of the present. Nothing would be tolerated were it to stand in the path of this pursuit, not even the Shogun that created its purpose. For if Ei were to one day become an obstacle to eternity, the Raiden Shogun would treat her no less than any other obstacle. There is no turning back from forsaking your form. Do you regret nothing? Your existence is my answer. Such was the final exchange between Baal, the Shadow Empress, and Raiden Shogun, the God of Eternity. Not long after, she would forsake her mortal vessel and place her mind within the sword of her beloved. As such would come to existence the Plane of Euthymia, the symbol of her eternity. And with that, we've reached the end of the video. I hope you guys managed to learn something new and exciting about the infinite world of Genshin Impact. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like and maybe check out a few of the other videos on the channel. I'm sure they'll tickle your fancy. With that, it is time for us to part. I hope to see you again in the future, and until then, I'll see you guys later.